Let's start off this week with our weekly feature talking about DownStream outdoor products. This week, we're back to talking about our DownStream outdoor inline spinners, made with all brass and nickel beads, including one glass bead. We have 8 different colors, and they have a glow-in-the-dark bead on them, actually. They're good quality little lures. They're all pretty much all we use, unless we specify because we're going after something else. But if we're going after trout, we're always using the DownStream outdoor lures here on the show, and we have a fair amount of success. And you can pick these up at places like Aquatic Imitations in the Melnix Plaza in Duncansville, and at Saxton Outdoor Supply along Route 26 in Saxton, Pennsylvania, or by contacting us directly via Facebook or email at downstreamoutdoors814@gmail.com. Other ways to help sponsor the show: like us, share us, comments. Facebook, YouTube, like us, share us. If you enjoy this episode for any reason, share it with somebody. If you know somebody that you think will enjoy this episode, share it with somebody. Help us spread the word. That'll help us keep going, and maybe we can bring more quality shows like what we're going to do tonight. And tonight on Downstream Outdoors, we're back with Bill Weaver, and we're back with Tyler Reese. These guys, tonight, they're going to introduce us to calling for predators. Bill, he's going to work with mouth calls, and Tyler's going to work with an electronic call, and they're going to show us how they call for predators whenever they're trying to hunt them.
Hello and welcome to Downstream Outdoors. I'm your host, Bill Weaver. You know me as a trapping guide, but tonight we're going to do some predator hunting. This is my hunting partner, Tyler Reese, and we're going to take you through some of the calls that we use and how we do things.
Okay, ultimately, I'm going to operate this in an interview style. Bill, you got a bunch of mouth calls there.
Yep.
Okay, and you said certain calls you use them for certain animals and in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now ultimately we know tonight's the first night of bobcat, so we can hunt bobcat. Which one of those calls would you say you would hunt for bobcat, and why are you using them, and how are you using them?
Well, I'm going to use a prey distress or a busy sound for a bobcat. I'm also going to use a prey distress or a fox sound for fox, because either one could come into the call, really. So we have chicken distress, rabbit distress, and actually all 3 of these are really rabbit distress calls. So that's what we're going to use tonight mostly.
Okay, now why do you use 3 different rabbit distress calls?
Why do we use them? Because like one is a little bit more raspier than the other, maybe a little bit more of an adult sound, cottontail. The other one is a little bit more softer of a sound, maybe a baby cottontail. And the other one, you know, it's kind of in between, maybe.
So ultimately you're giving your predators a choice.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
offering them a menu of meals for the evening.
Exactly.
Or at least that's what they're anticipating. All right, can you go ahead and give us a demonstration on the 3 different rabbit calls? Now, I know you said these rabbit calls will also work for all other predators, including coyote, fox, raccoon, and just about any other predator that you could hunt tonight. These rabbit in distress calls will work for?
Exactly. So this is a chicken distress.
Okay.
So we're going to make the sound of a chicken on this one, and it kind of goes. And you kind of use your hands to control the volume of the call also. Now that was chicken distress. Now this is raspy rabbit. Now this is a little bit more of a juvenile rabbit. And there are also different types of calls. This is a bite style call. This is a closed reed call. This is also a closed reed call. Same with this. And that's really what you're going to get with Prey Distress. This is a really old call made by a company called Herders, but it's a tried and true call. This is one that kind of sounds more like a juvenile rabbit. But it's a really good call.
Okay, now, ultimately, I know you said that those calls that you just demonstrated will bring in any of the predators that you're hunting tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you do have some coyote-specific calls.
Yes.
And what do they do, and why are we using them?
If you're targeting coyotes, you want to use coyote sounds, like pup distress, howls, group howls, which group howls is better on something like an electronic call, unless you have a good partner that can really call. So this is a call. This really sounds more like an adult coyote or an adult male coyote. Is a howl. That's just an example. Or you can make pup distress. On this call, this is the same thing, really, but this is a little bit more high pitched, that it could sound more like a female. And if you kind of make a mistake on a call, even coyotes aren't perfect. They'll mess up their own howls and everything else. Sometimes it'll affect you on your hunt, but most of the time it won't. They'll answer back or whatever. If they don't come in, at least you've had the experience of them howling at you or coming in.
Which I'm sure is an exciting experience
Exactly.
in and of itself. Now, Tyler, you're of a younger generation than Bill and myself. You don't have quite as much time in this as Bill has invested, so you haven't perfected the mouth calls yet. You have an electronic call. Now, do you want to give us that before we start talking about the sounds? This thing has an extra added feature on it that Bill can't do with all his mouth calls. You can add movement with this machine, correct?
Yes, correct.
And the movements also, it kind of helps it look like an animal that's been struggling, maybe flopping around on the ground. Is my understanding?
Yes.
And how does that look whenever it's done with the machine?
So what happens is I'll take my call out, I'll set it about 20, 30 yards out in front of me, and I just set it out, and then I have this here I turn on the back, and then I have a button on my remote. I can hit it, and then it'll start going around, and it looks like an injured animal out there flopping in the middle of the field. So what it does is it takes the coyote or the fox or the raccoon's attention and puts it on that instead of you 20 yards behind it. That way it's focused on that, and it doesn't see you moving a little bit to get your gun ready to make the shot and identify what the creature is.
Ultimately, yes, that is a great feature with them, because you can get the animal to walk right where you want it to for your best lined-up shot. Now, does this just make one particular sound, or does this make a variety of sounds, much like Bill's lanyard of calls?
Okay, so this specific Fox Pro call has the capability to hold up to 300 plus calls on it. Now, it only comes standard with 100 calls on it, and not all of them are prey and distress calls or coyote calls and all that. But you can buy more calls and download them on here. I just have the original 100 that came on it, and of those 100, I probably have 60 plus different predator calls that I can use while night hunting.
Okay, would you want to give us maybe a sound demonstration on this electronic call, and maybe duplicate one or two of the sounds that Bill had made with his mouth calls?
Okay, so what happens when we first start hunting, we like to start with a lower sound, like a lower pitch sound. That way if there's any closer animals, we're not spooking them off right away when we start calling. So typically we start with like titmouse, which is mouse in distress, or bull squeaks. They're both very good, or baby bee cottontail. They're all real quiet, real low sounds. So here would be bull squeaks. And then we'll let that go for roughly about 4 minutes or so. And then about 2 minutes into the call, we'll turn it up about a little over 50% and let it go till 4 minutes are up. Then we'll switch to something a little bit louder. And typically we'll go to, say, a cottontail in distress. So that would be, here is a cottontail in distress and about medium volume. Same thing there, we'll let that call go for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll hit the mute button, and then we'll sit there in about a minute of quiet, about a minute without doing any calling, just scanning around, and then we'll pick another sound. So say we know that there's gray fox in the area in particular, I can go to gray fox in distress, which attracts different gray fox and can also attract red fox and coyotes both. Typically coons won't come into that. So that would be and then say we do have a gray fox come in, but we can't get a shot at it and we somehow spook it, and say it comes into a rabbit in distress call and it takes off running. If we hit the gray fox in distress call, or one of my other gray fox sounds, I have a screaming gray fox fight, sometimes that will bring them right back in. I know with red fox that if they come into a rabbit call and they spot us and get spooked and run off, if I hit that red fox rally button, most of the time they'll come running right back in. You'll get another chance to make a shot on your animal. And here I'll demonstrate the red fox sound for you. This would be red fox rally. And that will also work for coyotes. Typically gray fox won't come into that because red fox are a little bit bigger than your gray fox. So there's all sorts of different calls on here. I have a bunch of different coyote calls. I have coyote pups. I got female coyotes, male coyotes. I have challenge barks, different howls. I got locator howls. Typically we start off, if we're towards the end of the stand, if we're not getting anything to come in and we want to see if there's any coyotes in the area, we'll start out with the location howl. And typically what we do then, I'm not going to do it in here, but typically we turn it up to almost max volume and let the coyotes just start howling. We'll let go for a little bit and then hit the mute button and see if anything's howling back at us. And same thing goes for generally about all these calls. We let them go about 4 to 5 minutes. And our typical stand throughout the night's about 15 to 25 minutes, anywhere in there, depending on whether or not we're seeing something or hearing anything. So within that time limit, you get about 4 to 5, maybe 6 calls in there, depending on how long you're there.
And if we're targeting bobcats, we're going to be there from probably 25 to 35 minutes, because bobcats kind of sneak in and they'll look and then they'll kind of sneak a little bit more. So that's what we do with bobcats. And tonight, that's probably what we'll do. We'll target bobcats, coyote, fox, everything that'll come in.
And typically bobcats are more attracted to a busier sound. So for that, we would probably use Lucky Bird, which is a really busy sound. Cranky Male Cardinal works pretty good too. It's really busy. And I'm not 100% sure if it'll work, but Juvenile Red Fox is also a really busy sound too. That'll bring in fox, coyotes, and most likely bobcat too.
Yes. And one of the advantages to a electronic call like this one is we can set it out 20 to 25 yards out from us. That way then the animal doesn't focus on us. Like with me with a hand call, the animal is looking directly for me. So this, it makes them look for the call.
Now, one nice part though, I could be having this call going, and Bill can be over here doing his hand calls as well. So we got two different rabbit distress sounds going at once, or maybe two coyotes going at once. So it sounds like you got more than one coyote.
Mm-hmm. So with calls, that's generally what you want to use is prey distress or the animal that you're targeting, like red fox sounds with an electronic call, or gray fox sounds. Even if you have bobcat and heat or something like that, that is a really good sound for bobcats as well. Tyler will demonstrate that here as well.
Okay, here would be bobcat and heat.
And in breeding seasons and stuff like that, you want to use sounds that help you to target the animal. Like between mid-January and mid-February is when bobcats start breeding. The beginning of February through March is whenever coyotes and fox start breeding. But the season ends in Pennsylvania in late February. So you can start using those calls, but until the end of the season. So, you know, those are things that will really help you.
You said about seasons closing. Ultimately, the coyote season never does close here in the state of Pennsylvania, right?
It does not.
But ultimately, you guys as fur takers, you want to take your furs here in the dead of winter to get the best quality pelts that you can,
Exactly.
correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So you guys actually let the coyotes alone pretty much all summer long? That way you have a healthy population for the winter, or do you still continue to predator hunt throughout the year?
Well, it all depends. If you have somebody that calls you, like myself, I'm a nuisance control trapper. If I can go in and trap the animal, or I can go in and hunt the animal during the summer because, say, somebody is having lambs killed, chickens killed, or something like that, I can go in and call that animal or whatever and remove the threat to their livestock. But most of the time, like in game lands or on farms or whatever, we leave them alone until we can get the best quality fur.
Okay, sounds great, guys. I look forward to putting this all into action here. And do you have anything else to say?
Not really. I think we're pretty much good on that. And if anybody has questions, comments, or anything, put it in the comments on YouTube. I'm telling you, we'll answer them, and we'll tell you as best as we can that what we know and everything else. And tonight, whenever we're hunting, we'll definitely show you what is all good with that. This has been Bill Weaver with DownStream Outdoors with my hunting partner Tyler Reese. Catch us in future episodes with hopefully some call-ins and everything else, and we'll see you next time, and tight chains, everybody.
Well, everybody, that's it. I mean, that's a great episode. I tell you, I really had a good time with these two guys. I learned a lot with these two guys, and I'm trying to bring as much of that to you as I can in a right structure. These guys are very knowledgeable, and it was simply a pleasure to go out with them. And next week, we're actually going to show the episode where we went out hunting together. Okay, I didn't actually go hunting. I took the cameras so that I could share it with all of you. And we'll see what happens on next week's episode. And until next time, keep your line wet and out of the trees.